Welcome, everyone. We are here in the Mind Illuminated course. This is the San Francisco Dharma Collective, and I'm Minda Aguhob. I've been teaching for about 6 months a 5-part series on the Mind Illuminated. And this is a book that was written by Culadasa, and I actually just completed and got certified in the Mind Illuminated through the course that Culadasa teaches and trains in. And he's no longer here, so it's now taught by his students, and I'm so grateful to be able to offer this class to you guys. So just so you know, this is the last class of the series, but you can go to the San Francisco Dharma Collective YouTube channel. And at SF Dharma Collective YouTube channel, go ahead and you would click on playlists, and there you can find the Mind Illuminated 5-part series that I just taught since September. So if you feel like, oh, I want to know what stages 1 through 7 are like, or 1 through 6, you can go and watch every single one of them, and it'll be awesome. So, welcome to the last class of this series. We're going to go through stages 7 through 10. Now, that may sound a little intimidating if you have never meditated before or you're brand new. Do not fear, I will make this completely accessible to you. And if you are an experienced meditator and you are super curious and want to go deep, you are welcome to. And we have a couple experienced meditators here. But I'm all about including everyone's viewpoints, and we're going to not only touch on the very important pieces of each of these stages, but also we'll make it relatable to the beginners. You'll see things you can aspire for, and we're going to get to meditate later in this class. So let me just frame this all with this statement I like to make. I bow down to all of you who are here as the very embodiments of pure love and the Supreme Self. Thank you for being here. And at the San Francisco Dharma Collective, I want to share that we strive to create a safe environment. If you feel comfortable at any point, please feel free to speak to a teacher, facilitator, host, or board member. You can find those folks on the website at sfdharmacollective.com and speak to them about it, because your experience matters to us. Okay, so we've gotten the housekeeping stuff out of the way. I'm going to start with, what is meditation? Now, I've asked this at the beginning of every class, and a lot of people, they think, oh, meditation is stopping your thoughts, or clearing your mind, or watching your breath. These are all aspects of meditation. But what I want for you to step back and think about the definition I'm going to work with today. Okay? Meditation is the intentional exploration and experience of reality. Meditation is the intentional experience and exploration of reality. So that's what we're doing here today. And if you think about it, you can kind of see how watching your breath is watching an aspect of reality. Stopping your thoughts, I guess, yeah, that could be a version of experiencing or exploring reality. Now, I kind of say I guess, because you can't really stop your thoughts. Now, there are people who can practice at much higher levels, who can completely clear their mind. That's not what we're aspiring for today. Definitely not for beginner meditators. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by experiencing it intentionally through observation. Kind of like you step back and you might think of your thoughts like being a ticker tape, or the things that appear in your life, like a ticker tape going by. I don't know if you've ever looked at life that way, and if you haven't, we'll try that out. But this is what I'm talking about and what we're going to be doing when we meditate. Okay? And doing this plants seeds of understanding what different types of experiencing reality is like. And we're going to start with two specific perspectives. All these stages of 1 through 10 in the Mind Illuminated are basically girded around two types of experiencing reality. First way of experiencing reality is with your attention. So your attention, the mouse pointer of your mind. And it's like an owl looking at its prey and flying after it, ready to go. That is paying attention. You're basically focusing on one thing. The other way to experience reality is with your awareness. What is awareness? Well, with the owl, who's paying attention to the mouse and chasing it, the experience of its wings on the sides are a form of awareness because it can peripherally be aware of its wings while it's chasing the mouse. The owl can also be aware of the wind and the temperature and perhaps another animal that's more enticing to chase that you might decide to go after instead. Awareness is about the interrelatedness of the different objects and things, even thoughts that are happening, while attention is a focus, an intentional way to position your mind, like again, a mouse pointer. So just hold that while we talk about these stages, and we're going to sit for a minute and meditate for 1 minute. What I'd like for you to do, I'm going to set a timer, is I want for you to set an intention. And again, I said that meditation is an intentional exploration, experience of reality. So we're going to take this hour and 15 minutes, and I want for you to just take a minute to look at maybe a word or a sentence that might represent what do you want to get out of this session today? What are you looking to learn or even to feel? Okay? And then we'll share it and get to know each other a little bit. Just 1 minute, starting now. One word or a sentence of what you would like to experience today, together. Okay, slowly come back. Seeing reality beyond fear. Seeing reality beyond fear. Yeah, there's a lot of scary stuff happening. And let's just acknowledge that, you know? I think a lot of people are coming to this practice with, needs to settle, to see reality beyond fear, feel deep presence. and have something that you can return to at any time in a robust way. So thank you for representing this, all these different aspects, all of you. I think that when I hold a session like this here at the Dharma Collective or wherever I'm teaching, I feel that whoever has come to the group is just perfect and is what was meant to be shared. And just consider that all of you are here at a moment that is a perfect moment to share. And that's why I'm just so glad that we have this YouTube, because it's something that can be shared and replicated. You can sit at any time to review these great lessons. I feel really fortunate to have received from Culadasa and from the teachers that I studied with. And the reason is that it's really straightforward. You know, people think that to awaken, you need to go through hours and years on crazy retreats and, do silent, noble retreats. I mean, not all of these things are helpful. But the truth is, if you practice meditation really well, and you know the right things to focus on, and you just make it fun, you can awaken pretty quickly. You'd be very surprised. And there's a lot of levels of awakening. So you can get to awakening, the early stages of it, I would say, with a good daily practice, in about a year. And I know that sounds surprising, but that's because people think of awakening as being like the very, very far reaches of awakening, like being the Buddha himself. And just understand that that's not the awakening I'm talking about. There's a lot of different factors that go into that type of awakening, but the early stages of it, which is kind of like, I don't know, graduating from high school, or it's a milestone. But these early stages of awakening are profound. A simple way of defining whether you have reached the early stages of awakening is to just ask yourself this question. When you're going through really hard stuff, like your dog ran away, your house is on fire, your partner has left you, I mean, just like pretty much all the things you really don't want to happen, how are you feeling? Can you say that underneath it all, everything is fundamentally okay? Even with all of that, even with the worst things in the world happening, can you say everything is fundamentally okay? So when you are in the early stages of awakening, you can say, yes, it sucks. My emotions are all over the place. But yeah, I think everything is actually fundamentally okay, and it will just pass. Some of you may already be there. Now, just to clarify, these stages of the Mind Illuminated 1 through 10 don't translate to, you're from stage 1, you're not that awakened, and stage 10, you are awakened. Actually, awakening can happen at any stage. But what these practices and insights of each stage do, which is I'll define in a moment, is they define where you are in your journey, how strong these insights about reality are for you. And strong means that it's this specific insight, something that comes to you every day, like it's no problem. Stage 1, one of the practices and experiences of stage 1 is realizing that it is really hard to meditate. And the insight is realizing that you actually have no control over it, that feeling. And that's, an interesting thing, because at stage 1, what your goal is to sit every day. And to sit every day for a lot of people can be very difficult, because you have this idea that you're supposed to clear your mind and watch your breath, and it's supposed to be perfect. And then you sit down and you do it, and it's not like that. Instead, you experience a raging ocean And all of a sudden you realize that you're now getting a sandwich from the refrigerator and you completely forgot you were going to meditate. You're supposed to be sitting meditating. I mean, that's very common. But if you can just sit and realize that, just step outside of the experience and go, that's stage one. That's me experiencing stage one. I am meditating. Yes, I got up and made a sandwich and completely forgot about it, but that's me, the stage one meditator. I am realizing that my mind is not in my control. And I'm just going to sit back down and meditate now that I have wakened up to this distraction. Stage two, very similar. And if you go back to the videos from earlier, you can hear about every insight and experience of these stages. But what we're going to do is we're going to skip over these stages, and we're going to go right to stages 7 through 10, because that's what we're going over today. Stages 1 through 3 are the beginner meditator stages, where you're just learning how to focus and noticing distractions and staying aware of the breath, things that a lot of people are working on. Totally great. Okay, so just know that's the beginning meditator. And then you have the next stage of meditation, where you are a skilled meditator. And while with the first 3 stages, you're really focusing on your attention and keeping that stable. With stages 4 through 6, you're not only working with your attention, but you're also working on your awareness. Now, some people don't really know what awareness is because they're so about their attention. So I'm just going to define it really quickly. It's just, again, being aware of what's around you and the situation where you're in. Like for me, I'm aware that I'm sitting in a building in the Mission in San Francisco, and I'm in front of a group of people, and I'm talking. There's a mic in front of me. Another word you can use that you can put in front of awareness is situational awareness. You can think about awareness as situational awareness. What is the situation you are in? And this next stages 4 through 6, you start growing this awareness in new ways. Kind of beyond situational awareness to the awareness of your mind and your thoughts, and it starts to become a much sharper instrument or tool to explore reality. But where we are now are the stages of the adept meditator. And again, you don't need to be an adept meditator to understand this, but if you already are an experienced meditator, and perhaps you're already an adept meditator, you're going to be exploring reality with awareness to the point that awareness is how you experience reality. One analogy I like to use is think of an athlete. For me, back in the day, it was Michael Jordan, the basketball player. That man could be anywhere on the court at any time. And it was like, he was like a magician. There's actually very amazing athletes, creatives, just different types of people who can do miraculous things. And, that comes actually from a really intensely deep use of awareness. If you can just be in a place and not even have to think about where you're going, you're just there, your body appears there at the right moment, that is what comes from a very finely tuned awareness, like Michael Jordan on the basketball court. And so when you're an adept meditator, you're at that level of awareness and flow where you can experience pretty much any layer of reality. And stages 7 through 10, there's gradations of it. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm also going to share how beginners who have not meditated before, you can see some signposts to recognize it. Because everyone can experience pieces of it, of these later stages. But the difference is that when you're in these later stages, they're definitely happening in your session, most of the session, or they're even happening these experiences and insights every day from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. That's something that's really important to know because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's so far beyond me. It's not really interesting to me. I just want to learn how to meditate. Well, these are things you can recognize in your practice. So let's start with stage 7. I'll give you clues. In stage 7, you have gotten to the point where your attention is so stable that you can actually just pay attention to your breath or whatever meditation object you've chosen. And you can just let go of the efforting that you make to pay attention. So, sometimes people will be paying attention to their breath and they're just like, they got all their intention and they're like really stiff. And they're like, I need to pay attention to my breath. Well, stage 7, and you can actually practice this earlier. At stage 7, you can just let go of all of that. And so you just kind of catch a flow where your tension, it not only stays, but it kind of builds as you go. And you might even start to notice you can kind of like push it along like a wave. Like you might notice your tension waving in and out, and you can kind of like push on it, and then it'll just start flowing, and then you can let go again. So that's happening at stage 7, and it's the beginning of what we call unification of mind. So some basic explanation of the mind. Remember stage 1. I told you how you recognize you actually don't have any control of your mind. So your mind is popping all over the place, and all of a sudden you find yourself at the refrigerator making a sandwich in the middle of your meditation session, okay? Well, at stage 7, it's totally different. You have these minds, actually, it's different sub-minds, and one of those sub-minds in stage 1 had captured you and brought you to the refrigerator. So all these sub-minds, at stage 7, they actually start to unify and align, and they stop projecting these distracting other intentions and thoughts like the refrigerator. It's a very amazing instrument that you now have in your hands when you're at this point where you can just let go. So what is the experience you have in stage 7? When you have that unification of mind and exclusive attention, that experience is this: your mind is still. Distractions, they feel external to you rather than close and personal in your mind. It's almost like you can go, oh, there's that distraction over there. I'm just going to ignore it. That's how much, you've just got a handle on this. Okay, that's the experience of stage 7. The insight of stage 7 is this: attention. Your attention, it can just remain there effortlessly. You don't need to effort. There's something about the quality of this state that you've just realized that you can just let go. And that is a change in the way your mind has worked for years, and it's like a change in the state. And you go, wow, my mind is operating differently now. That's interesting. And that's for you to explore and discover in stage 7. Now, you're a beginner and you're going, I am not anywhere near that. But what you may be experiencing every once in a while, and you may notice this maybe not in meditation, but as you go throughout your day with things that you're good at doing or you do routinely, notice when your focus can just stay on its own for a moment. Like sometimes you're listening to music and it's not hard to focus on the music. You just stay on it, right? So that's an experience of effortless attention. You've just experienced that. And so you can just kind of clip that, and when you come to your meditation, just notice if that happens in a similar way. You might even try listening to music. I know that's going to be very controversial for those of you who are experienced, But actually, it's a pretty good way to stabilize your mind when you're a beginner. That's why a lot of these meditation apps, they have music or flowing white noise because it helps stabilize the mind. So if you're using these apps, go ahead and keep doing that. Just notice a little bit more intentionally how your effort to pay attention has just gotten easier. And you'll see in the earlier videos how that we play with that, with different types of attention and awareness with your body and your breath. Okay, stage 8. So what's that like? This is when something called mental pliancy occurs. Mental pliancy, it's like your mind all of a sudden just goes completely quiet, like literally pliant, like clay in your hands. It's a very different experience from when your mind is the raging ocean. So mental pliancy and pacifying the senses. This is also called physical pliancy. This also happens at stage 8, where it almost feels like your body is not even there. Or it might feel like your body's in a different position, like you're just like not connected to your body. It's very, very interesting. And that's because you start having a different type of experience because your mind has evolved. Your experience of reality has evolved. So what is that experience of stage 8? So again, your body and your mind feel different. It's spatially different. It's open in a new way. Okay, so stage 8. Body and mind are just different. They're not like where you, quote unquote, you are, but they start to feel a little bit different from the self that you are, that you think you are. Okay, then you have your insight of stage 8. Not only does mental effort disappear, there is a lightness to the meditation, and openness, and awareness that is that much more nuanced, that you can start to experience you not being your body or your mind. You have that really deep experience of actually being not a self, no self. You see that your mind and your body are not you. And instead, you find a different source of that self. And I'll go into that in just a second, but let me talk about the beginner version of this. So notice when you're a beginner that there might be moments when meditation not only feels effortless, like listening to music, but it even feels like it's light and relaxing and that you expand out a little bit. It might just be a second or a moment, but just like you felt the effortlessness of music, feel the awakening, the opening of not being tied to your physical body or your thoughts. You might even experience a little bit of like out there-ness, like being in outer space. Okay? These are, again, experiences to note. Now, in stage 8, one thing that you sort of dig into deeper is if you're not your mind, if you're not your body, and that's something you can actually experience, then what are you? I mean, this no self thing, that's a little, that's a little crazy. So like, what might be something else that's not quite like no self, which can be kind of an out there experience, an idea, but something that's sort of in between? One way you can kind of go at it is if you're not your body or you're not your mind, then where are those things coming from? Where are those feelings and sensations of arm and leg, or, Minda or Chet? Where are they coming from? And you might notice there's like kind of a place, it might feel like it's in the center of your head or your heart, or may not even have a center physically. It might just be a point. And that point is something to notice because it's kind of like you're watching things emerge from it. It's almost like just watching. It's this thing that's kind of watching your body and watching your thoughts. Sit with that for a moment because that's an insight that you gain very strongly at stage 8. But you can see this at any point in your practice. In fact, I think I saw that when I was like in kindergarten. Some people just get this stuff, they see it really quick. But the point of noticing this point is that it's something you can meditate on as an object of meditation and notice how reality emerges from this point. And the insights that emerge from that are profound and can lead you to seeing what no self actually is. Okay, I will walk you guys through this in the guided meditation, all right? I know this is pretty deep, but you actually might find it's actually quite simple. I don't know how many of you actually feel that way, but I would actually love to hear a little bit of feedback from you of what you're thinking so far about stages 7 and 8, what I've described as effortlessness and this point of observation. Who is thinking maybe might be something I could play with in the meditation? Does anyone want to share?
Well, I will say this, that's desperately where I want to be. That point. I mean, I've listened to a lot of teachers who, and I think you and I have actually talked about this in the past, Minda, who have kind of reached that point, that sense of just no self. And it just sounds like the most amazing thing in the world. Just the idea that, because we know that self is an illusion. I mean, it's just when we think of ourselves or our egos, it's just a bunch of thoughts going on in our mind. It's not who we are. It's just like thought processes, but kind of like me knowing that intellectually, but then versus actually grasping that experientially. I think that's kind of where I want to be. And kind of in a way, it's almost kind of contradictory because I'm saying, I have no self, but I want to be, this. But it's it's because if there's no self, then there's no me that can experience that. And sometimes that really starts to boggle my mind. But
Yeah.
I just know that like listening to various teachers like Gary Weber, who you introduced me to, through his videos, and a few others like that. I'm like, these people get it. This is it. This is what it's all about. This is what I want.
Well, I'm going to give you a couple more hints, Cade, since you just, expressed that. And I love that you're really digging into to Gary Weber. He's great. Another person you might consider learning his ways is the teacher who produced the Headless Way. Google the Headless Way, and
Oh,
many of you who are listening to this may already know this practice of pointing. So let me just share, like, if you point at yourself right now, you take your finger and literally point at yourself, okay? And then go, what is being pointed at? I mean, you might be pointing at your chest and go, I'm pointing at my body. But then if you realize that these are just things that are merging, this vision and image of your finger pointing, it's just pointing at an image of your body that is occurring in your mind. If these are all just images occurring in your mind, well, what is this thing pointing at? Anyone want to respond to that? I see your wheels turning, Cade. Okay, I'll just leave it there for now. But if you were to just take the point, like if you guys found it quickly easy to discover this point that's observing everything, you might also ask yourself, what is that point? Like, what if it also itself was just a sensation that's emerging, just like everything else? And if that's just a sensation that's emerging, just like everything else, okay, Daniel, go ahead.
Sorry, can you clarify when you say the it? Are you referring to the it that is aware
Yes,
of things, like as concepts or
yes.
awareness?
So that sensation you have of an awareness that's looking out or that's watching everything emerging, you might go, okay, that's myself. That's the real self. That's really like observing everything. There it is. That's not my body or my mind. It's just that point. But what if that point was just another sensation like everything else? What if that sensation of self is just a sensation?
But then then what is the me that's observing that sensation?
Exactly.
Like, it's like I can feel this. Okay, I can feel the sensation. You know, physical stuff going on the inside, just my senses, what I'm seeing around me, emotions, these concepts in my mind, storylines. But what is it? I guess there's what's kind of like the core me that's like observing all of those things. If
Well, what if there
that
wasn't
makes
one?
so just sense just there's just sensation. There's just feeling, senses, sight, sounds, sensation, but no one, no me that actually experiences that.
Perhaps, and that's something that you can inquire in when we meditate. Got it? Okay, Tia.
I I don't want to say I struggle with this concept, but mostly I just kind of like blissfully gloss over it. The ways that non-self and but when I am able to kind of engage with it, it has to do with the with how I think about impermanence. Um, that that the um, uh, one of the things that Cade was just saying about, well, if it's just these things, these are all ways to describe being in the present moment, right? So if now is all there is, those are the things, right? Then my mind planning ahead, backwards stories, all that is these images, right? But once I get into the who am I or who is the observer, then I'm like, I don't know, I kind of like me. Like I can absolutely get like I am not my body, easy peasy. I'm not my mind, got it. I am not, I'm like, you lost me. So somewhere in there I start to kind of like I said, I don't even struggle. I'm just like, great, I'm going back to my breath. Um, but I definitely when I do engage at all, it has to do with how impermanence works. And I feel like if I ever were to really just be like, yep, now is it, here is now, this is what's going on, then it would be in the realm of, and now it's another one, and now it's another one, like that constant impermanence of things. But yeah, I'm not enlightened in in yeah, what is that I generally say? I am not a Dharma scholar. That's the one I usually say. I love the Dharma. I am not a Dharma scholar.
Well, your comfort with impermanence is definitely a milestone and definitely something that you can just sit with and inquire in. You're just actually in a really great spot. Oh, hi,
I,
kitty cat. Right? So kitty cat is just a little, little expression of right that, who knows what's going to pop up in right now. And what is now? What is all of this now, impermanence, things happening, even the thoughts of self and this looking out in the world, all sensations? What is this thing that's occurring? Okay, so let's go deeper. Stage 9, and then we'll meditate. Physical and mental pliancy continue, and it is really just more depth of what I just described in stages 7 and 8, to the point that you're experiencing things like luminous jhana. And let me just differentiate. Luminous jhana is a type of a trance state where you can see light. You see all of these different types of things that occur kind of with reality that are not obvious at first, and then they just emerge. I see colored lights and dots that are kind of like if reality were a pixelation. It's like seeing the impermanence shimmering. That's what I see. There's other types of things, but that itself is not stage 9. The stability of that nuanced sense of reality, the shimmering, the change, even visually, in other types of places. You can hear it auditorily in other types of senses. You can even see it in your thoughts. This is the experience of stage 9. And there are insights that emerge out of that experience. For the insight of stage 9 that you really get, your mind and body are really fully, like, not even there. They're at ease, like just gone from being like so in front and dominant in your experience. It's almost like it's just like everything else, it's just popping up everywhere. And distractions, they don't really disturb you. They're actually kind of things that you pay attention to, just like everything else. They don't pull your mind away because you're so aware that everything is something that you can pay attention to. Your mind and your awareness are that powerful. Now, how can a beginner experience this? How about this? Along with all the other things I suggested, can you let your breath just happen? Can your breath just happen? And can you just notice it happening without controlling it? Once you got that glimpse of not being in control of your breath and just letting it happen, that's a glimpse of stage 9. Okay? Kind of like reality just emerging and popping. All right, so finally we'll go into stage 10. Stage 10 is what Cade actually referred to as equanimity, tranquility and equanimity. And this occurs every day off the cushion. So, some of the stuff I've talked about are experiences that you have in your meditation session. Some of these things will occur off the cushion. But with stage 10, when you're solidly there, this is a state that you're in all the time, on and off the cushion, where your awareness and the nuances you pick up, your body and mind just not being there really. This is an everyday occurrence for you. And from that experience of being in deep calm and clarity, effortless presence, okay, that is the experience of stage 10, you get incredible insights, all kinds of insights, and then you're on a journey to this all other level of stages of awakening. And again, stage 10 is not equivalent to awakening, but it's a very fine-tuned state for awakening. And the insight you get is this. And this is an experience of equanimity, where you have no preference for either joy or stillness. You're just open to all kinds of experience, even the crappy experiences. You're just open to it all because it's just experience. It's just happening. And when you're in that place, your experience of reality is on a whole other level. It becomes a whole other tool, your mind, to notice new things and new ways of viewing all the different kinds of situations happening all around you, whether it's inside or outside of you. And how do we experience that as a beginner? Yes, you can experience stage 10 as a beginner. Imagine your thoughts. Just notice your thoughts. Can you watch these thoughts being like kind of clouds in the sky? Or they're just there in the sky, and you can just observe them and watch them without grabbing at them, without needing to engage with them, but just noticing them in the background of your mind. Okay? Any thoughts or questions about stages 9 or 10 or anything we've talked about today? And I'd love to hear from the beginners as well.
What you said about being able to breathe but without controlling the breath is something that that I noticed, which I didn't think about earlier at all, and I'm realizing it's not easy at all.
It just takes practice, but you've seen it before. If you've seen it before, you can actually set an intention at the beginning of your meditation to experience that again. And when you set that intention, which is a very powerful thing to do, before every time you meditate, it's always good. Just go, what do I want to experience? And that will take you really far. So Chet, you can sit down before we start meditating and go, I want to experience that thing of my breath just occurring, just happening. And then see how it goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else? Karen, do you want to say anything?
No, I don't have anything particular.
Okay, Cade?
So when you're meditating, and I felt like I was doing well at this for a while, but I feel like I've had some setbacks. How do you deal with resistance? In other words, you're like you feel a certain way. Maybe you have like pain in your body, or you're sick, or you're uncomfortable, and everything in you just wants to, like, because you're trying to tell yourself to just open up and just allow whatever happens to happen, and just open up to the fullness of your experience. But then those unpleasant feelings, then just the resistance to that, how do you let go of that and learn
Okay,
to
this is
kind
a
of
great
embrace that?
question. This is a great question because everyone is dealing with this stuff at all the time, at all stages. What you're describing is the feeling of aversion, or what we call in Buddhism Vedana, which is pleasure and excitement, or aversion. I don't like that. And you just notice it. Notice you're experiencing Vedana. Notice your experience of aversion, and just observe it. Just like everything else. In fact, you can shift your attention or your awareness to that feeling of aversion and just notice what happens with it when you do that. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to the class on stages 3 and 4, where we talk about that with more detail. But just every time, you just sit and observe it and see what happens. It may actually grow stronger for a bit, and then it might just drop away. Or it might change into something else. Okay? Alrighty. Let's
Thank you.
meditate. You're welcome. We have 15 minutes, so we're going to go for 15 minutes. And I will walk you through the meditation so you can experience all these different things. First, remind yourself of the intention that you came to this session with. And sit comfortably. I want you to consider your back is like a set of boulders. And just have your boulders in spine just sit on top of each other in a balanced way. And that'll help with some of the aversion feelings or pain you might have. Alrighty. Intention, your posture, your breath. Starting now. And just be here. You may choose to focus on your breath. And if you are new to meditation, practice counting your breath in cycles of 10. I'm not going to count because I'm going to move on to the stage 7 practice. But for now, just select a place for your attention to rest, like your breath. Rest it lightly, like a feather on water. Like a feather on water, watch and rest. Let your focus rest lightly, like a feather, effortless. And if you're not counting your breath, notice how your object, whether it's your breath or even your thoughts going by like a ticker tape, just notice how they come and go, how they emerge and disappear. Your breath comes in, and then it goes out, and then it disappears. Your thought, it emerges, and then it disappears. Focus lightly, with effortless attention. Stage 7. And if you're distracted, just come back and rest your focus lightly, like a feather on water. Stage 8. Pliancy, mental and physical. Just notice when your focus just naturally stays a little longer Notice the sensations of your body. How do they emerge? Where do they emerge? Notice the emergence of your mind and thoughts. What is emerging? Where is it? What is it? Notice the sensations of your breath. What is that emerging? Notice the thoughts that occur when you watch your breath, even the thoughts of your breath. What are those thoughts and mind? Inquire. And also notice when your focus naturally lingers. Where are they emerging from, these thoughts, these observations? Stage 9, experiencing deep stillness. Instead of controlling your attention or your breath, let it breathe you. Let your attention attend you. Just notice how this occurs. Stage 10, equanimity. Like passing clouds, thoughts and feelings are like passing clouds. It's in the background. Can you just watch them and notice their occurrence? Like looking at a painting or the sky. Let experience come to you. Let attention come to you. Watch feeling emerge and come and go. Notice thought. Watch it come and then go. Okay, slowly come back. And we are all back. Here we are. Who would love to share about their experience? What did you see and notice?
Well, one of the things I noticed is that everything that was bothering me, everything that I was like not feeling good about, um, had nothing to do with the present. I noticed that like I would maybe feel some emotion or some pain or something unpleasant. And then as I looked at it, I noticed that it either had something to do with the past or something to do with the future. It's like I noticed that whenever I felt that way, it was either because I had some storylines or like narratives, like memories from the past that happened that maybe what I was feeling was reminding me of them, or I was thinking about the future. Okay, what's going to happen next? Where is this going to go to? And then thinking about, okay, and then that makes me kind of go off on, okay, what are the other things that I need to do tonight? And I noticed that as long as I could just be in the present, that whatever I was feeling was actually okay and tolerable.
Awesome. Now that's an insight, Cade. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. That is powerful. Just be here now. And that's a big shift to how you experience life and the fun and the not so fun. All right. Would anyone else like to share?
Um, I'll go. And I also have a request of Daniel. Could you co-host me again? I fell out of the call and I lost all my hosting adventure. Um, but after that, when we were meditating, I I I love the intention thing. Like I was super conscious of settling and uh and uh and I appreciate that. And like the interactivity with my body, like I'm one of those people who once I'm focused on the breath, then I'm impacting my breath. So controlling, moderating, somethinging, and I have to kind of let that settle again, and then maybe I can be with the breath without controlling it. But then I realized that my posture was changing too. Like if I start sitting up straight, I'm breathing, and then I'm breathing, and I'm not sitting up straight, and I'm like, okay, so that's what's happening now. I can't do both of those at the same time without a different kind of intention. Like if I'm just being, one of those kind of falls out. But if I pay the kind of attention that has to do with control to either of them, then it's different. So yeah, it was an interesting bunch of inquiry that still was all contained in being settled. So yeah, thank you.
Great, very cool insights. Noticing how your emergence of senses and emotions of control differ from when you're just like letting go and watching it, right? Nice. I am curious to hear from Chet, our beginning meditator. Do you want to share it all, Chet?
Yeah, sure. I was, as a beginner, I was trying to focus on my breath, and your suggestion of like breathing in groups of 10 was helpful to sort of focus on the breath and sort of trying to let go of whatever thoughts were coming in my mind about what I should do tomorrow, what I did yesterday. And um, I'm starting to notice that things come to my mind. So I'm trying to be aware of it at this point.
Fantastic.
Mm.
That's a deep insight, actually. Notice how thoughts emerge and they just occur. And that's part of some of the earlier insights of noticing that you're not in control of your mind. So I suggest that you just sort of play with that. And I'd love to know how it goes.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we are at the end. We're a little bit over. Apologies for that. But I do want to emphasize that we're here at the wonderful San Francisco Dharma Collective. So thank you again for joining. This is the last class of the 5-part series. So sadly, this is the end of this class. But if you would like to have the series come back, please let the Dharma Collective know. And actually, Daniel, you look like you're about poised to share something. So I'll hand over the mic to you if you like.
Do you have any other announcements first?
Right now, I am actually thinking about starting a new class. So if you would like to be informed about it, please let the Dharma Collective or myself know if you have my contact info. If you don't, it is info@co-caring.org. info@co-caring.org. And just let me know that you'd like to be informed about the next set of Mind Illuminated classes. Okay? And wonderful to be with you guys. And let me hand the mic over to Daniel.